I'm going to discuss how to complete assignment A2, which includes 3 exercises, exercises 1, 2, and 3 from this chapter, Java Servlets. So if we go to that chapter, the exercises assume, first of all, that I had a mistake on the web page. I just fixed it. Java Servlets, this link was incorrectly linking to the Java setup page. Now it correctly links to Java Servlets, and as you can see, there's a lot of material that you need to cover first. You need to carry out all of these procedures before you get to the exercises. And once you get to the final activity of the chapter, then you can, at that point, start with the exercises. Well, let's take a look at the first exercise, and Servlet-Mapping Element. So in this problem, we need to add what's called a Servlet-Mapping Element. We need to add that to the deployment descriptor, and we want this configuration to associate the home servlet with the URL pattern index.html. After we do that, we will test that the following 4 links work correctly on our system. So let's go ahead and do that together. So to get started, I'm going to start up Eclipse. There we go. And the problem is solved by modifying the website application, or that's one way to do it. Actually, oh no, that's right. So it's the website application. And as you can see, I have the publisher application here created already. That's the product of the next chapter. But let's go back to this website application. Now, the problem asks for a modification of the deployment descriptor. This file, web.xml, within the web.inf folder, this is the deployment descriptor. Let's go ahead and open that up. And the exercise asks us to add a Servlet-Mapping Element. So let's go ahead and do that. One way to perhaps see this better is to see that this is the servlet element right there. Here is the first Servlet-Mapping Element. Here's the second. And this servlet element here basically defines this name home. This is the name of a servlet, and this servlet will be an instance of this servlet class. So this is the configuration that tells Tomcat to call the constructor for this class and associate the constructed object with this name, or this identifier, this key value. And the Servlet-Mapping Element then refers back to this servlet name and associates that named servlet with a URL pattern. So here we can, when we access /home in the browser, the request is actually routed to an instance of our home servlet class that handles the request. So now we want to add an additional association. So this home servlet instance handles other requests as well as that request for /home. We also want for that servlet to handle requests for index.html. So that is the URL pattern. Alright, so as you can see, we need to save that file. And at this point, we're ready to test. So let's go ahead and start up Tomcat. So you'll need to navigate to that location, and I put it here in the bin folder. And let's go ahead and start up this one right there. There's the console window showing the logging output. Not sure what we have. We don't have any log watcher there, so we'll leave that out for now. So we go back to these links. This is the link that has been working already. This continues to work correctly. So you can see that when we send in a request for /home within the website application, that we in fact get the page that we need. Now, if we request index.html, as you can see, we get exactly the same page. Now we're requesting through a different URL pattern. Now what about these other two links? Let's try them. Let's try website. Website works as well. And the reason why this works is because of some configuration inside the Apache Tomcat web server folder, and that's inside this conf folder here. As you can see, there is some configuration going on in here. So I'm not going to dig into that at this moment. Let's go back to here. So as you can see, if we terminate this this URL with a slash, it's essentially, this is interpreted as requesting this index.html. So these are the web container Tomcat assigns this request to what looks like a folder to a request. It routes that request to a folder to this request for a named resource. Now what happens if we omit the slash, as in this one? Look, we omitted the slash, but then it appears again in the URL. That's because Tomcat redirects the browser to the URL with the slash appended. Let's manually take that out here, and let's go ahead and hit enter to submit that request again. And look, the slash appears. It's not the browser adding the slash by default. It is the web server that instructs the browser to add that slash and then submit another request. Okay, now in this class, what we need to do, what I want you to do, is to submit your work, to commit your work into the repository that I have created for you. So that in the next part of this video, I'm going to show you how to commit the changes that you've made to this application so that I can see them. Now, so what we're going to do is we're going to put this this website application inside of the Subversion repository. I right click on that, and I see I've got this team link here, this team category of operations, and we're going to ultimately hit share project, and we're going to share the project through Subversion. But if you look at this page, it shows CVS. So CVS is the precursor to Subversion, and CVS is built into Eclipse, has been built into Eclipse from the beginning. Eclipse does not contain by default a Subversion client, so we need to actually configure Eclipse to to include that. So I'm going to hit cancel on there. Let's go ahead and get a Subversion client installed for Eclipse. Let's go ahead and look for that. So I'm going to search. I'm trying to remember where that is. Now I remember there are more than one Subversion plugins for Eclipse. Let me just do a little research here. I'm going to do Eclipse Subversion plugin. Let's see what it comes up there. So here it is, Subclips. That is, in fact, that's the top one that appears in my search here. And in fact, this is the Subclips. This is the plugin that I have used in the past. You can probably use a different plugin if you have that preference, because Subversion, all these plugins are required to work with the Subversion repositories, the Subversion servers rather. So there's a well-defined protocol that Subversion clients need to follow when they interact with a Subversion server. So if you have a client that implements that protocol correctly, that client is good enough. Alright, let's go and do the Eclipse installation. And we're going to do that in a very convenient way. So let's take a look at what our choices are. Alright. Just going to stare at this for a second. Okay, I'm going to go to this tab here, download and install. There's some information, about getting the right version, and probably should read through this. So here it talks about the version of Eclipse here, 3.2. Let's go back and just check that. I think we're okay. This is about Eclipse, and not really sure how to figure this out. Actually, it does have this this button for further information. This looks like version 1.3 of Eclipse IDE. The versioning is confusing. Here's Eclipse Platform 3.6, and this probably corresponds to what it's talking about there, but I'm actually not sure. Let's go back and look at that web page again. We have the most recent version of Eclipse installed. We just got it a few days ago, so I'm going to assume that we'll need the most recent version of Subclips as well. So let's go ahead and look at that. This is called the Eclipse Update Site URL. In fact, what we want to do there is I'm going to right-click that. I'm going to copy the link address. It's the same thing as just highlighting this and copying. That's the same thing. And in this case, because the name of the link is the same as its address, so we're going to take that. We're going to come back here to Eclipse and go to Help, and then Install New Software. Here it is. Let's go ahead and figure this out. We're going to paste in, I believe we paste the URL in right there. It's been a while since I did this. They're always changing this interface a little bit. Let's go ahead and look at this. What is going on here? I think I'm not supposed to paste that in there. I'm going to try clicking Add. Here it is. So I'm going to hit Cancel in here. This is in fact not the way to do it. What we're going to do is hit Add, and the name is going to be Subclips the location is. I'll paste it in there, and let's go ahead and add that. So it looks the same, but it has this slash subclips there, and it opens up these other options at this point. So let's go ahead and oops, I just moved my mouse wheel and I turned this. Let's go back and select this again. Where is it? It should say subclips. There it is. This is subclips, and we need this. We need this. And this. I'm going to just go ahead and install everything. So now I will hit next. That took a long time to complete, so you need to be patient with that step. I cut out all the waiting by pausing the video, so once again that took a long time to complete. I'm going to step through this, accept the license agreements, and it's going to complete here. Warning, you are installing software that contains unsigned content. Do you wish to continue? I'm going to set OK. I need to restart Eclipse for changes to go into effect. We'll do that. Okay, so we're rebooting Eclipse. And now at this point what we can do is we can share this website project. So I go down to Team and select Share Project. Okay, so we have a choice between CVS and SVN. Last time we did this, last time we got to this step, we only had one choice, which was CVS. So let's go ahead and pick SVN. Click Next. The URL, we need to get that. Okay, I just modified the course wiki to give some information about the repository. This is the URL of the repository, and I'm just going to copy that. And just to show you how that might work, I'm going to open this in a new browser tab here. Now I will have given you a username already, a Subversion username. If you haven't gotten that yet, let me know. So I am David Turner Java. That's the name of my repository. You will have a username and password to enter in here. Yeah, just go ahead and log in. As you can see, the repository is empty. So let's go ahead and go back to here. Now, for the URL location, it's entered in as such. Let's go ahead and go to Next. Use the project name as the folder name. That sounds good. So we're going to, as you can see, this is the URL of the repository, and we're going to so this is select the name of the folder in the repository. So this would be the repository itself. This is the folder within the repository website. This is for a comment. This is fine. And this is a question about starting the synchronized view, and I'm not going to do that. If I go back to the website, I hit refresh, you can see that now the project is now committed. However, there's nothing in there. It's just slash website. What we're going to need to do is go back and add, or I think commit actually. Let's go ahead and commit our work. So By sharing the project, what we did there was simply add the folder to the repository. Now let's go to team, and then commit. And it shows a list of items that will be written into the repository. And let's go ahead and take a look. This is website settings. This, I believe, is all of these are good to put into the repository. So let's go ahead and commit all of those. And go back to the web, check to see that things have been placed in there. And as you can see, these are the files. Here's the home servlet to show that. And actually the WebINF folders has not been committed, so I need to look at that. So what we'll do is go back here, and the reason the WebINF folder was not committed is because these, actually I didn't get to see your JSP either, because the inside of this folder is a subfolder called classes. Classes is not visible here in the hierarchy, but if we look at another view, that let's pull that up here. It's under Windows Show View. If we look at the, is it the outline or the navigator? Maybe it's the navigator. This shows the files that are in the project. This is the Package Explorer. This provides a logical view of the objects in the project, but the navigator provides a physical view, or a view of the folders, the actual folders and their contents. If you drill down into WebINF, you'll see this classes folder here, and in there is the result of compiling the Java code, and that is the Java bytecode. So these are files that end with the extension .class. Once again, that shows our view of the file system. But you'll see in the logical view of the project, there is no folder under WebINF called class. It doesn't show it. Now, because classes is within this grandparent web folder, I believe that Eclipse by default omitted the web folder from the repository, so we're going to need to add that in. So I'm going to go back. I'm going to go to the navigator view. Now, we don't need this classes subfolder. So what I'm going to do there is, let's right-click on web, and I'll do team, and add to version control. You have explicitly asked to version control one or more resources that would otherwise have been ignored. Continue, yes. Now we could simply submit this whole thing, or else we could omit the classes folder. By the way, this procedure that we're doing right now also puts these jar files in version control, which I think is alright. So let's leave it alone. Let's go ahead and leave that alone. So I'm going to come back to here. I'm going to right click the website here, and right click and team commit. Nope. What happened? I don't think let me just double check that. I don't think anything has been committed under website. WebINF is it should show up under the web folder. It's not there. I say, I wonder where must be under SRC. And this is, well, the web folder is not showing up here. So let's come back, and I'm going to try that one more time. I'm going to right click the web folder, team, add to version control, hit yes. Says it's already under version control. Alright, let's do a sometimes you have to tinker with this a little bit. I'm going to go to team, update to head to synchronize. Says web is already under version control. This is not not seeming to come up at this point. Let me refresh. I don't quite see that yet. And let's go ahead and do a commit. I'm going to go team, a commit. No files have been changed. Something is a little funny there. So what I'll do is I'm going to open up this file. Just going to put a space in here. Let's see if we can trigger a commit. So I'm going to right click on website and commit. No files have been changed since the last commit, so I'm still getting a problem here. Alright, let's try it one more time. I'm going to do update to head. And now I'm going to do a commit again. Once again, no files have changed since the last commit. Let me go. I'm going to need to keep tinkering with this. Add to version control. It still comes up. You've explicitly asked version control to version control one or more resources that otherwise would have been ignored. Entry already exists. Web is already under version control. Alright, so let's go to WebINF. I'm going to try to add that as well. Getting an error. Let's go to JSP. Let's add that. So I also get an error there. Let's go to Home JSP. I'm going to try to add that. It's a little broken here. Let's try the same thing here. I get the same error message every time. I think what I'm going to try to do, so it looks a little buggy here, it looks kind of broken. And I can't seem to get the commit to work. So I'm going to try one last time. Go to T and do commit. No files haven't changed or added. That's fine. So I'm going to close Eclipse. Just check this again. That I still don't see the web folder. I think the plugin is a little buggy. And let's try to do a commit. Once again, I get the same message. Okay, so this subclips is not working as expected, so I'm going to go ahead and go into the folder where I keep where do I keep that anyway? Go into the folder where I keep the workspace, which I think is under Turner here, and then workspace. Here's website. You can see there's an icon there. Now I have installed Tortoise SVN, so if this succeeds for me, you're going to need to probably do this. And there it is, Tortoise SVN. I have this installed on my system. You got to be careful here. There's this Spiceworks, we don't need that. Just this right here, Tortoise SVN 1612. This is the download page. And there it is, Tortoise SVN 32-bit or 64-bit, whichever one you have. Okay, so I have that installed. And so I go to website. I'm going to right click. This is the project. As you can see, the web folder is marked for marked to be added to the repository, but subclips is somehow not writing that into the repository. So I'm going to go outside of Eclipse. Notice I have Eclipse closed, and I'm going to right click in the folder, SVN commit. See, the Tortoise SVN integrates itself with Windows Explorer. That's why that shows up. As you can see, the folder is selected, but the contents are not selected. So let's go ahead and select all of those, and that's it. Now let's hit OK. That gets committed. Takes a little while. Alright, now that's in there, as you can see, lots of green showing that things are up to date. Let's go ahead and start Eclipse now. Actually, we don't need to start Eclipse. We can check here. If I hit reload, now there's the web folder. That's what we need in there. There's WebINF. Here's the JSP. And here's the web.xml file, which has that change in it right there. Okay, so we got that fixed. Now let's test something just to show you, just to make sure that Subversion is working correctly through the Subclips plugin. I'm going to make a change to that web.xml file. Let's see if that we can get a change to come through. And I'm just going to put in a comment here. So this is an XML comment, and this is going to be this is assignment 2.1. Alright, that's just to mark it right there. Let me go ahead and save that. This is by the way, that's a comment, an XML comment. It's the opening symbol looks like this, the closing symbol looks like that. Everything in between is a comment. So I'm going to right click on website, go to team, and commit. Let's see if it works this time. There it is. It shows up that it's ready to commit the web.xml file. Let's go ahead and hit commit on that. Go out to the website. This is the web view. This is what's actually in the repository. We can see it here. I'm going to reload. And there's the comment. So we know that with that little extra bit of tinkering using Tortoise SVN, we could get the project into the repository. So what you need to do at this point is to continue do the other exercises 2 and 3. We completed this exercise, and now there's exercises 2 and 3. Exercise 2 asks for you to create a new servlet called Test Servlet, and you should go ahead and do that just to get you started, just to show you a little bit how you might do that. You just go ahead and select new class here under that package website. The name is Test Servlet. Type name is not valid. A Java type name must not start with a blank or end with a blank. That's because we pasted. Got to quiet down the surroundings a little bit there. So actually I had a blank at the end of the name. That's why I didn't like that. So now you can see it's clear. So go ahead and finish that. And but you know, let's go ahead and go back to this home servlet. This is how I would do it. I would copy all of this, and we copy that and paste it right over top of this. Although the name is going to be Test Servlet, so that'll be we'll need to change that here. This should be Test Servlet. So now we have the home servlet, the test servlet are identical, but we want something to be done differently. I'm going to take this out here. And this is the do get. Doesn't do anything. It's going to be a blank page at this point. Just to show you how to go about doing this, and then you need to modify the web.xml. No, not this one. The web.xml file, which is down in here. And we need to add a new servlet element. And this will be called the test servlet. I'm going to call it test. That's test, like that. And we'll need a servlet mapping element for that. And this is, this comment is not altogether necessary, but I'll put it in there. So the test servlet will map it to /test. And that's how we'll trigger that. And the test servlet gets, as you look in the instructions, you'll need to read this. You should stop the video if you haven't already and read through this. That we need a an HTML file that sends a post request into the servlet. Let's go ahead and do that. That's down here. That's under web directly. So I'm selecting web. I'm going to do new and file. And this will be, this shows you the location, website/web. That's the correct location. So I'm going to call it test.html to correspond with just /test. And let's go ahead and add that. Now, if you see this, it comes up in this browser view. I'm going to close that. You can see the icon there. It shows it. If I double click on that, it opens up in this embedded browser. So it's what the file looks like in a browser. I'm going to right click on that, and instead of opening with the web browser, I'm going to select text editor. I want to open with the text editor. And this is a regular HTML file. So it has the opening and closing tags. And same with the body. This is the body. And let's just test, see, make sure this works. Okay, so make that an H1. We're going to say hi. And go ahead and head should always have a title element if it's going to be valid. Just say A2.2. If it's going to be valid XHTML. Actually, it's missing the XML declaration. What do you call it? The XML. Forget the name of that. But there's another. It's not an HTML element, but it declares something about XML up here. Not slash, but XML something. But we're going to leave that out. It's not really. It doesn't give us much actually. And so here we have our body. Just says hi. Let's see. Let's go ahead and view that. So we have Tomcat is running. Let's go ahead and view that. Let's see. We're going to go down to here. Let's go ahead and open the website. Open a new tab. And we're going to request test.html. There's the hi. We change this to, I'm going to change it to A2.2. And once again, we hit refresh. There it is. So that's working. And then the exercise, where is the exercise? Here it is. It asks for to create a servlet that responds to that gets a string and echoes it back. So that means we need a form. And the action, this is important. Actually, this is the default, so you could omit that. I'm sorry, that's the method. The method is post, and the action should be the URL for the servlet, which in our case is just test without an extension. That's how we named it right here. See, and so that'll go to the servlet. let's go ahead and put a submit button in there. Input type is submit, and value equals, we'll just put OK in there, although there is a default the browser assigns for that. And so we're not submitting any string right now, but let's see how that works. Actually, we need to this is not, we're not retrieving Yahoo newsfeed here, so this should be returning user string, something like that. Returning user input. So we need to send something, and so we do that with the response object. So we do I think it's a get writer here. This is how we did it before. Get the print writer. Let's get the print writer. Get writer. Writer is a print writer. So that's a print writer. Oops, print writer. And we're going to need to right click on that one. There's quick fix here. Let's do source, organize imports. That added the print writer import up here. And I'm going to call that writer, not write. And now let's just start by just. Is it print? Yeah, print. Let's print line is what I want. Something like that. Let's go ahead and put in A, B, C, D like that. Let's see if we can get this to return for us. Oh no, we didn't restart the web application, so we're probably going to need to do that. Let's go to but that does depend on the configuration of the web server. Sometimes there is a configuration that tells Tomcat to check for newer versions of class files and load them when they are revised. So I don't actually know if that setting is set or not. We'll try it without restarting, and then if we don't see any changes, then we'll go back. So let's reload this. Now we have our form. When we hit OK, let's do a view source on this. You'll see that when we click the submit button, the action is test. That means we're going to request the test servlet. So let's go ahead and hit OK. You can see that test is up here. Oh, we have an error message. HTTP method post is not supported. The problem there is this is do get, and it should be do post. Now, when we saved, we actually have an error there. Let's not an error, a warning. I'm going to take that out as well. We don't need this, do we? But we don't even need this. Don't need that configuration to do this problem. And these imports are no longer needed. Let's take those out. I like to get rid of all warnings. Actually has a quick fix on there. Just delete these. Alright. So get rid of all warnings. So there's no warning icon there. And let's go back. Once again, I don't know if Tomcat has reloaded the class file or not, but let's see. Let's go ahead and put in a. Do you want to resubmit the information you originally submitted? We're going to say yes on that. Nothing came up. That means we're going to need to restart the application. So let me go back to here, and in Java servlets, inside the Apache Tomcat web container, there was this business here, which talked about you know, the startup page and the manager applications. We want to access this manager application. There's the URL right there. I don't know if I have a link to that down here somewhere. Anyway, let's get to that. So paste that in there. It's localhost 8080, the manager application. And there's a password. I think I called it admin, or was it root? I can't remember. That's admin. So we're in. This is website. We're going to have to reload. So I want Tomcat to reload the files, the class files that it uses. So let's go ahead and reload that. And the message up here, this is good to look at. It says this was a success. And here we are. Let's go ahead and hit enter on that. The get is not supported. Let me go back to here. Once again, the method here is post. So rather than, the problem here was when we hit enter up here, we're sending a get request, and we modified the code already to process post requests. So hitting enter in the browser sends a get request. That's not what we want. We want to submit a post request. Once again, that's designated here in the form, and this is the default. So if that were omitted, you would end up sending a post request. Let's try it. There it is. There's our ABCD. So as you can see, there's a lot of complicated configuration and debugging that you have to learn to get this to work right. Now, the problem asks for, if you look at the statement of the problem, that test servlet accepts a string provided by the user and displays it back to the user. Alright, so that means we need to send in a string. That'll be another input element. Just going to tighten that up a little here. And this will be an input of type text, and this is the string. We won't have a value there. Instead, we'll have a name. The name is going to be, I'll call it, say, user input, like that. And there's a length. There's a way to specify length, and I can't remember how to do that. Anyway, there is a way to do that. Well, let's figure it out. So let's, how do you specify the length of a text field? How to length of HTML text input box, something like that, whatever it is. Text boxes, there it is. Size. So let's paste that in there. And so we saved it. Now, by the way, we don't need to reload the web application for the changes to test HTML to become visible. And that's because the web server is directly accessing this file. So when we send in a request, it's not running a class file that we modified. It's actually which has been loaded through the class loader. It's re-accessing the file that's in the file system. Let's go ahead and look at that. Hit enter. Oops, not that one. We want test.html. There's our string. And we submit the string. Of course, we're not echoing it back, so we have to change that. We have to get the string. How do we get the string? So let's suppose we get the string. The string is going to be, I think we called it user input. So let's suppose the string were hi. and then we want to print the user inputs, eh? And let's just test that. This is we're doing this incrementally here. This doesn't solve the problem all the way. We have to get the user input, but let's just hard code it as high. See if this works. Just to do a test. Once again, we have to reload the application because we modified the servlet, not just the HTML file. We go back to here and say, should say hi. There's the hi. Yeah, that's working good. Now let's, instead of setting it, let's go ahead and get it. And we get it through what's called the request object here, which is passed into our doPost method. It contains all the data that's in the form. And we call this method getAttribute. We pass in the name of the attribute. Now what is the name of the attribute? The attribute name is in fact this name right there. So the user types in a value, it's associated with the name user input, and that's sent to the server, and then we access that value by calling getAttribute on this request object. So that's just to make sure we get it right. Let's go ahead and copy that one, paste it in here. Paste. Where's the paste? There it is. And we got an error message there. Cannot convert from object to string. Now get input. Look at this. It returns a value of type object. So get attribute can have any number of. So get attribute. It's not get attribute. I'm sorry. It's get parameter. It's get parameter. This is the real function. Get attribute is something else. Okay, there's get parameter. Get parameter returns a string. So I'm going to see there's an error message there, but as soon as I save, we'll get a recompilation. That'll work. So now we're getting the value submitted through the form, saving it here in this string, and then printing it back out again. Let's give it a try. Once again, we're going to need to reload the web application and modify the class files. And let's go back to here. Should say hi. Should say hi. There, in fact, it is. We are echoing back the string. Okay, now we have finished A12. So I'm going to right-click this the project and commit. So I'm going to go to Team and commit. And let's see, we added test servlet. That's good. And we also modified WebXML. However, I don't see the the test.html file is not in there. So I'm going to hit cancel here. We need to add that in there. There it is, test.html. I'm going to right-click on that. And I'm going to go Team, add to version control. I'm getting the same error message here. This is Team and commit. And I don't see, it's not showing up. So unfortunately we're going to need to go out and do that manually. So let's see, I'm going to go up to Turner, Workspace. Here's the website. I'm going to right click on that folder and a commit. And it shows modification to this file. We want that committed, but these files have been added. We need to tell Tortoise SVN explicitly to add these to the repository. Now this one here, it's a derived file. Normally we would omit it, but just for simplicity, let's go ahead and commit that. There it is. So we're going to commit that in there. Hit OK. Now let's check that. I think that's all good to go there. So under web, This is what we're looking at is from the browser cache. Oh no, it's not. Here's our test HTML right there. This is a fresh version. And under SRC we should see our new servlet. And there it is. There's our test servlet. Here's our code. So we verified that the code has been fully committed into the repository. That means we've finished now. At this point, we've finished exercise 1 and 2, and now we need to do exercise 3. And I'm going to leave exercise 3 completely as an exercise for you to work on. I just modified the exercise, adding 2 numbers. So what we'll do there for that exercise will be very similar to exercise 2. We create a new servlet called add servlet and an HTML file called add HTML. And the HTML file accepts 2 numbers in input boxes and submits them to the add servlet. The add servlet adds the numbers and presents the result to the user. So that should be pretty straightforward. You just carry out a similar process that we carried out for exercise 2. So good luck with that.